Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today I'm talking about the new album from Lindsey Stirling, Brave Enough. Lindsey Stirling is a violinist that got famous here on YouTube, and ever since 2012 has been perpetually lodged at the top of the iTunes electronic album charts. I've been watching those charts for 3 years now, and her albums haven't left the top 10 ever since. Not once. No exaggeration. Heck, it's not that often that they leave the top 5 in those charts. She has had ridiculous staying power, rivaled only by, Odessa. So, needless to say, I'm familiar with her. But what do I think of her music? Well, she's alright. She's undeniably a great violinist, and combining her violin with EDM is definitely interesting. But neither of her two albums really do that much for me, and I put that blame squarely on her producers. The actual EDM that she plays over is usually just kind of for me. Her first self-titled album had its moments, although aside from her violin, I found it to be awfully bland. And her second album, Shatter Me, was undoubtedly better, with quite a few more high points, but the low points were still just as bland and forgettable. Once again, Stirling herself is never a problem, but the dubstep production was absolutely nothing special and brought down otherwise great violin performances. It was a cool novelty at first, but one that wore off really quickly. Anytime I listen to her, I just think, yeah, this whole violin over dubstep thing, is it actually working? Is this really a good fit? Or maybe I think, why aren't I just listening to Hybrid? They use a full orchestra and utilize it much better. But then this third album dropped, and I thought, maybe this one will be better. I heard this one was going to be stylistically different from the first two, and it had been a long time since I'd listened to anything she'd done, so I figured the novelty might return for just enough for me to enjoy her stuff again. But at the same time, I heard that the style was just going to be like Kygo Tropical House, and just be poppier and possibly blander than either of the previous two. So I plopped on Brave Enough and gave it a good listen. How did it turn out? Well, thankfully, I think this is a further improvement from Shatter Me. For one thing, the production is much better this time around. Or at the very least, it's much more fitting for Lindsey's style, and the more spacious, Kygo-esque production allows her space to breathe a little more. Granted, it was awfully samey sounding as always, but at least this time I felt like the formula worked better this time. Another thing that's nice is that I think this is the first album from her that my favorites aren't mostly clustered near the beginning, thanks to my getting sick of the album's sound over time. They're sprinkled all over the place, some near the beginning and some near the end. That being said, I still don't like this album all the way through. The thing about this album is that she brought in a lot of guest singers this time around. Now, on Shatter Me, I like the guest singers as they broke the mold in an otherwise monotonous sounding album. But here they're much more frequent. On one hand, that makes the instrumental tracks more special when they happen, but on the other hand, a lot of the tracks with the singers are unfortunately among the blandest and least well executed. Tracks like the title track with Christina Perri, Where Do We Go with Cara Faye, Those Days with Dan and Shay, and Love's Just a Feeling with Rudy do little to nothing for me, once again outside of Lindsey's violin performances. They're all just kind of bland pop songs that don't have much of anything interesting to discuss. Something's Wild with Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness is a little more interesting, thanks to a little bit of a folk and country flavor, but still, nothing special. And there's Don't Let This Feeling Fade with Rivers Cuomo and Lecrae. This song is interesting, I suppose, but not in a good way. Lecrae's rap verses are fine, but feel really, really out of place on a song like this. Came completely out of nowhere and caught me completely off guard anytime I heard him. Not to discredit the guy's performance, but he had no business being on this track. Also, Rivers Cuomo singing wasn't particularly interesting, and the production was even flatter than usual, so that didn't exactly help either. But some of the songs with featuring credits were actually pretty good. I did like the track Hold My Heart with ZZ Ward. It had a much bouncier beat, more interesting production, and catchier melody, even though Lindsey wasn't exactly at the forefront. I also liked the track Mirage with Raja Kumari, which had this kind of exotic world music edge to it. The vocals are either some ancient tribal chant or something, or just complete nonsense, but either way, they make for a nice addition. As far as the instrumentals go, they were not all solid gold. For instance, Prism felt a little too close to the kind of material from her debut, and First Light was fairly catchy but nothing outstanding either. But the rest were pretty good. The opener, Lost Girls, as well as the Arena and the Phoenix, definitely had a nice, well-textured spaciousness that I liked quite a bit. And the closer, Gavi's song, was pretty good too, ending on a quieter, more emotional, and more subtle note. Although the very ending, where it sounds like some recording demo or something, I'm not sure it was a good idea to add. But whatever. So overall, I think this is my favorite Lindsey Stirling album so far. Sure, I still don't like everything, but I never really felt like I was getting too bored either. There was a good variety, and the production was definitely a step up from the usual too. It's unlikely at this point that I'll like a Lindsey Stirling album from start to finish, but I at least found this one to be enjoyable enough, so I will have to give her that. Hopefully next time she'll try to go the extra mile instead of settling with just Brave Enough, eh? But whatever. I'm overall feeling a 7.3 out of 10. Favorites and least favorites, I'm just gonna put in the description from now on. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I would like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.